Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending our today webinar session. My name is Irina Chismash. I'm head of marketing here at Castify, and I'm going to be your host for the following 1 hour. My special guest today is Jeff Heckler, customer success director at MarketSource. Jeff, welcome, and thank you for accepting our invitation. And I think also congratulations are in place because I saw earlier today in your LinkedIn profile that you guys released an customer success internal course. What can you tell us about this? I don't know a lot and I didn't investigate it. So and I kept the question for our webinar today.
Well, I appreciate the question. First of all, thank you. Thank you for having me. Welcome to all the guests, my special guests and friends from Romania. I wish you bună ziua, good afternoon, and wonderful to be here with you and everyone else who's joining across the globe, time zones and geographies. Very excited for this topic, and obviously I'm pretty excited to talk anything customer success. So we'll lead off on something that not really part of the agenda, but I appreciate Irina bringing up today. We did release, I'm the Director of Customer Success Solutions at MarketSource. So that means that I'm responsible for all things customer success for my company, my customers, my partners, and my stakeholders. My customers are both internal and external. So that's a very important thing that I like to repeat with emphasis and with sincerity. And so at MarketSource, we offer customer success and customer success services. That's product, process, and people at scale for the Fortune 500 and enterprise companies generally. And so those would be name brands that all of us know around the globe. And part of what I have been doing here for about the past 14 months that I've been in this role is to establish the go-to-market motions for customer success by MarketSource, and that also entails the internal go-to-market. So I, again, think of internal stakeholders and my partners as our customers, and so we have built out a customer success by MarketSource training. It consists of multiple modules and 2 different pathways. We use a learning management system platform to contain all this information and to deliver it. I think it's also important to state that the training that we provide internally comes in a number of different methods. I come from a background of education. Formerly, I was a high school teacher right out of university, so I know that it's important to meet learners where they learn, where they live, just like we meet our customers, where our customers are in their journey, where they live in their life cycle as a customer with us, and in all the channels and the modalities that are available to engaging with our customers and with our stakeholders and partners. So our learning platform hosts the learning content for customer success by MarketSource in video content. We have static presentations, there are visual presentations, there's text, and so it gives learners multiple ways to engage with us. It's asynchronous, of course, so that means that it can be accessed anytime at the convenience of the learner, and it can be updated by our teams and kept dynamic as well. So as we evolve and as information that we want to share becomes new and relevant and changed and edited and evolves, we can do that as well. And we all are living off of one source of truth as it pertains to customer success by MarketSource. So I like to say that we deliver and build in-house exactly what we do for our customers. So this is also a use case to also show our customers this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is why we do it, and this is what's in it for our customers, our learners, and our stakeholders and partners. And so I think that's very important. It's a lot of fun, and gratefully I have other teammates and leaders in the organization which sponsored this project with me, from learning and development, so L&D, marketing, sales, product and IT, are very vital in this journey, and it's been quite exciting. So, and it looks good. You know, it's a great platform. It's a great. I think it's pretty great content. Even our senior vice president is part of the delivery and part of the video library series, and so it's been a lot of fun and a lot of hands-on.
It sounds like a cross-department project that indeed required a lot of alignment. And in our today's topic, we are discussing about alignment. But before we deep dive into the topic, I want to address some housekeeping items. All the lines are muted for a better communication, for a better listening experience. This is a recorded event, and everyone who registered will receive a recording. I know that some of you emailed me, asked me about it, so no worries. Everyone is actually receiving it. It doesn't matter if you have the chance or not to be online today with us. I want to encourage you all to ask questions. The format of this session may be a bit different, so neither Jeff or I will not share the presentation. So we will gonna discuss. So I encourage you to actually stop us and ask questions as they pop. We will gonna take them one by one. So we won't allocate a formal 10 minutes at the end of the presentation because it won't be any presentation. For the late joiners, I'm Irina Chismoș. I'm head of marketing at Castify, and together with me is Jeff Heckler, director of customer success at MarketSource. And today we're gonna discuss about alignment between customer success and sales. I recall a few months back, I was having a discussion with a marketing executive, and we were discussing about how do companies end up being a unicorn. And what he told me stuck into my mind. He said that there are three ingredients. One is the product, and you definitely need to have a product that provides value. Then it's a flawless execution in terms of go-to-market. And last but not least, it's actually the alignment between the teams. And it's actually making sure that the team members are working towards the same goal, whatever that goal is, and not work one against the others. And at that point, I actually said that, well, it's much more easier than everyone else thinks. But then in putting it in practice and in reality, it's not. And another true story is that a few years ago, I was discussing with a CEO, and he was basically puzzled, and he didn't understand why the team members from his senior management team were constantly complaining about not being aligned, even if they were constantly and weekly, they had weekly meetings, and they were discussing about their daily, about priorities, about OKRs, and even if they were doing this, they were still having the feeling that they were misaligned. And at that point, the CEO was like, okay, what else can I do to actually help them become more aligned? Because definitely meeting constantly doesn't help. And that was the moment when I said, well, alignment doesn't necessarily means meeting on a weekly basis. And I want to kick off this conversation by asking you guys, the ones who are actually online, how would you rate the current dynamic between your sales and customer success team? I'm curious, what are your thoughts? I published the poll, and we'll start the discussions on this topic by commenting the distribution. Jeff, let me know. Do you see the distribution?
Yeah, it's needs improvement came out to an early lead, spiked almost at 70%, and now is hovering around 50%. Quite candidly, that's where I voted. Needs improvement. I know that it's something I'm always striving for. While we wait for the poll results to complete too, it's interesting you say from a the unicorn perspective. If some of my former colleagues at Pipedrive are on or watching this, I give them a shout out and say hi to them. Cross-functionally, I think that was cross-functionally in that organization, working with the other teams, gaining the necessary resources and political capital to get things done was always always a focus for me. I was at Pipedrive as the global head of customer success. I've written a lot about this in my time there, and it was a truly wonderful experience. One of the best of my career. But I will say, in hindsight, I was a member of the leadership team, the global leadership team, the only one there without VP in front of my title, and working on annual operating plans and things like that. And so there was a lot of work that I needed to get done with stakeholders and peers for the goodness of our customers and our company. That took a lot of finesse and took a lot of concentrated effort, and took all of us in the customer success team to get done. And so I can speak to that firsthand. And I've done a couple exits, and that was the second unicorn. And that cross-functional drive, and we're going to talk more about this as we talk in this hour, how to gain vision into goals that are relative for both parties or all parties. If it's cross-functionally in multiple departments, that's always a huge lift, and how to get almost anything done.
So it seems that basically needs improvement. It's 55%, and then it goes under neutral. So I think needs improvement, and I think a neutral relationship is not necessarily as bad as needs improvement, but it says a lot about things can definitely be improved. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's hard to achieve this alignment? What's the blocker?
Yeah, before we get to the blocker, I will say it's refreshing to see that only 6% are saying that it doesn't exist at all. So that's good. So the blockers are fundamental in two ways, or actually three ways. I'd say first, it can be cultural, right? If your company is if the company culture is that is not as a one of collaboration and cooperation, there unfortunately will be issues there. If there are differences, how is the reporting structure set up? Organizationally, customer success quite often falls underneath sales, and so if the leader is focused on, or their background is heavily weighed and skewed towards net new top of funnel activities and leading with sales, then that's what you're going to get, and so that can be problematic.
Okay, I think Jeff had dropped. Most probably he will come back as we speak. And now he's back. Okay, you are back. You dropped.
Okay, so I was just saying, so the first part can be cultural. You don't have the right emphasis on customer success and what it can do for the company and the customers. That's the first part. The second part can be in compensation, and so how the compensation is rolled out for sales. If sales is only 100% focused on bringing in net new, that's how they get compensated. There's a lot of problems that can come with that. They're just grabbing the sale, the net new customer, and bringing them in. There isn't a compensation measure tied to the longevity of the customer. So customer for life, or the value of the customer after 6, 9, 12, 18 months, that can be problematic. But even more simply, their goals are different. Sales is about bringing in the net new customer, and so their goals are aligned in one way, and customer success is their goals are aligned in another way. Budgeting can be another problem. I always say to teams, if customer success is managing all of your book of business, so all customers that are in-house, so let's say that's $100 million, what is their training budget? And then use the same ratio to look at what sales is. So if sales brings in net new for the year, and their budget is X, and customer success manages X dollars of revenue a year, what is their training budget, and see if you're comparing, equal ratio of 1-to-1 on dollars to budget. So that's another place to look. But from the corporate goals, whatever your main initiatives and goals are for a company, can you draw a direct line from what those are to each of the revenue teams? So assuming that customer success is a revenue operating team and is not cost of goods sold, do they have the same performance metrics to those corporate initiatives, and then how are they broken down? One of the wonderful things that have happened at other places I've lived, worked, including this one, is that as revenue teams, we have our corporate level goals, and then those are broken down into the revenue orgs. So for B2B SaaS, that's generally going to be sales, customer success. It may or may not be support if you're charging for that. You could have professional services in there as well. And so, and training if you're charging for training. And so how are the revenue teams aligned with driving corporate goals, and then breaking those down to the revenue team? So quite simply, do those teams own goals that relate to each other? So that's where, at a very high level, why customer success and sales might not have the best relationship.
You mentioned about different organizational structures, and I wanted to ask you: do you think that there's an ideal setup or a setup org chart at the company level that facilitates the alignment between the two teams? You mentioned earlier about customer success being under sales, or a potential thing. Do you think that this type of org chart facilitates the collaboration, and whose job is it to make sure that those two main teams are actually aligned?
Well, it's your CEO's job, and hopefully you're getting some of that voiced from the board as well, and your investors that understand the value of customer success. And I don't just say this for B2B SaaS, but I say this for any company in existence. Does your board have a customer-centric mindset? And not just speaking it, but are there initiatives aligned around the existing customer base, nurturing the existing customer base, profiling and having success stories or customer profiles as part of the corporate collateral in your company materials, the marketing materials? So it's really got to come from the highest leadership, and your CEO is accountable to making sure that those relationships play well together and have actual tangible initiatives together. And work together. So that's the first part. When you break it down to where customer success should report into, idealistically, you have a charter and mission in your organization that states that a customer responsible individual reports to the CEO, whether that's a chief customer officer or VP of success, or whatever you want to call it, is somebody sitting at the table with your CEO that has a direct line of responsibility to the CEO representing the customer, however that breaks down. Most often, we in customer success will have a reporting structure that's underneath a sales org. That's probably most likely what we see. As a customer success leader, I've reported to the CTO and VPs of product because how the company was aligned. And in some instances, that was very profitable for customer success because product led the company. And so to get things done and for the political capital and to get resources, that relationship worked. I've reported to COOs. I've reported to VPs of sales. And so, of course, you want to be as high as possible in the organization, but it really depends upon how that company views and sees you. When I mentor and talk to individuals that are looking at customer success roles, whether it be in leadership or as an individual contributor, I tell them you want to ask the folks that you're interviewing with, what is the reporting structure? What is the highest level of customer representation in the executive suite? How does that work? What does the budget percentages look like? Customer success, depending upon the organization, should be anywhere from 7 to 15% of the company's annual operating budget. depending upon how reliant they are on existing customers, upsell, cross-sell, product-led growth, customer value-led growth. So those are some earmarks, but when you look at that, then it's like over 2x difference between 7 and 15. So it really depends on the kind of motions that your company is engaging in. Those are some things
because I want to build on what you were actually saying, and there are some questions that came up from the audience. So the first one is, for this type of cooperation between sales and customer success, would the responsibility assignment metrics like a RASI model actually work?
Yeah, actually, this is in our notes to talk about it throughout this webinar. So happy it came up earlier than when we reached to it. Yeah, so RACI, so that's roles, responsibilities, accountability, blanking. So responsible, accountable.
Contributor and influence, contributors and not responsible, like informed, indeed. Yeah.
Thanks. So yeah, you should have a complete matrix built out across the organization. So it should start at the highest level organization: sales, support, professional services, customer success, and how those line up, and who's responsible for your main methods of delivery, both for revenue and for services to the customer. So absolutely. Then further down from there, you break those out and across your company or across your department. So customer success ops, customer success managers. You might have technical account managers. You might have project managers, and so breaking those out. Yeah, so absolutely. And the thing with RACI is that it needs to be visible. You know, it needs to exist in Confluence, or it needs to exist as a living document in your organization that everybody is aligned with and responsible and accountable to. So you have a check and balances system to fall back on. And so checks and balances are, if I'm a customer success leader, I know, and my sales peer leader and my support leader and the finance and everyone else in the company knows the chain of command and knows where the responsible parties are for the things that we're trying to do in-house and deliver to our customers. So it needs to be visible, it needs to be collaborative, it needs to be signed off on, and it needs to be reviewed probably annually at a minimum. Biannually would be great as your company evolves and changes. So looking at what the responsibilities are for delivery on individuals, who's accountable, who gets part say, and who's just simply informed.
Because we talked about the RACI model, what do you think about shared KPIs between customer success and sales? Is it so awkward to say, to have this concept where to make the teams share specific metrics?
Well, I mean, one of the popular things across SaaS is to have NRR across the board, and everyone in the company is compensated on NRR. Maybe it's annually. From there are different levels of responsibility. If I'm a revenue individual, then I'm probably compensated on NRR, MRR, ARR quarterly. And so the metrics themselves in their value won't be the same, but in principle as drivers they are. And so everyone owns part of the overall performance of the company, whether it's retention number on dollar amounts, retention number on accounts. NPS is one that companies like to use a lot. There need to be shared goals across an organization so that we're all moving in the same direction. And that starts with the leaders of the functions themselves. So as a customer success leader, what I've done is I've built quarterly compensation and bonus structures for my CS ops teams and individuals, simply to keep all of us focused on what's important. So when a customer success manager talks to a customer success operations individual, they have a shared interest on what they're driving towards, whether it's customer satisfaction, NPS, ARR, MRR, whatever our initiatives are. It could be upsell metrics, cross-sell. But yes, absolutely, full stop. Shared KPIs need to be established across organizations. It can work, again, on those annually or quarterly metrics, but it can also be broken down a little bit further. Maybe we want to establish internal documentation system in Confluence as a knowledge base. And support is going to own maybe 150 articles to be submitted in a quarter or a year, and customer success will own 75, and sales will own 50. And so we all have some skin in the game to making sure that our internal documentation system is successful. And so that's part of it. Another one that can be useful is support. You want to see support cases handled at their value to increase and the time and overhead drop. Well, customer success and sales actually are great ways to use triage for support, making sure that the quality of calls and requests going into support increases, and that their ability to rectify situations that happen at scale increases. So one of the ways to do that is to productize or institutionalize those items that you see coming in quite frequently. So in customer success, we see maybe a data import and export in our customer base is coming in at a high rate. So we'll build documentation that can be used asynchronously. So it could be a video, it could be resources on our website, it can be an email that we set up as part of our customer journey that's sent out that educates our customer base on how to successfully import and export data. That lowers the traffic that comes into support, increases the value and experience of our customer base, gives our employees in the company a better experience, because this is something that is taken off of the volume of traffic that comes in more frequently. Maybe we include this in part of our sales. Part of sales is, hey, we do data import and export. We have resources about this. When you go through your trial, or as you start to evaluate our product, here's some of how that works. So that's another example of how it can be done. Again, cross-functionally, owning same goals and collaborating on those.
Another question was, do you think getting CS involved in the sales process might actually improve the relationship with the sales?
Someone's got our notes.
I know. But I'm glad they are anticipating.
100%. So if you're, as a customer success leader, if you're, and a member of customer success, if you're doing your job correctly, what will happen is sales will start to bring you in and helping them close. So they'll use the customer success team and the services that are provided by customer success to build the confidence in the net new prospect customer coming into the company, and they'll be able to by face-to-face or just a voice to lend the credence to, when you come in as a customer, here are the things that you can come to expect. And so the sales organization will get you involved and your team involved. And so what you want to do with that is the same method. You want to build that content and productize customer success and build those materials so that sales has them at their fingertips. You might build a one-pager or a sales sheet about customer success as a PDF to give your sales organization so that they can attach that to their emails, or they can give that to prospective customers and say, hey, here are services from customer success. This is what they offer. This is what they do. And they will use that to close the sale on the customer. Two other things happen there. When sales gets customer success involved and as part of the sales cycle, the order size, the initial deal size will increase, and the sales velocity will increase as well. So meaning larger initial sale size, and it'll happen faster. The good thing for customer success, or the upside to that for both the company and for customer success, is if you have a prospective customer that lays $1 on the table on your product and says, oh, I'm in at $1, that is drastically different than the confidence and the partnership that is built when they lay $10 down. So if their purchase size is higher, that means they're committed to you at a higher level. They've invested with you upfront at a higher level. And for your company, that's less work that you're going to have to do later in upsell and cross-sell. So the initial deal size, and these are all, of course, things you can measure, will increase. So So that's part of it. The other things that you can find in customer success is when you get your net new customers in, you could casually ask, I have a great relationship with sales. Just as an aside, out of self-interest, I'd like to know, when I talk to my sales counterparts, is there anything that you would have advised them on or suggest that they could have done better, or something that they were already doing that really worked for you? Or another question could be, great to have you as a customer. What was it in your journey with us that won you over? What got your vote of confidence? What were the key decision-making criteria that won our selection as a product and a service for you? And then take that information, aggregate it. You can store this in your CRM or your CSP or customer success platform. Aggregate those top 5 reasons or the top 3 reasons why you won. Give those back to sales. Tell them what's working, and then nicely tell them maybe some things that are opportunities for increasing the value of. And again, I use a technical lift that was necessary during the pre-sales engagement as an opportunity to increase their value.
We do have so many questions. And I'm gonna actually focus on pointing out and displaying the questions on the screen, regardless of what we wanted it initially to discuss with, because it's more important what the audience wants. So another question is, how different are account executives from outsourcing or service companies versus CSM in a SaaS companies?
How different are account executives from outsourcing or services company versus Okay, so we're talking sales from an outsourcing and services perspective versus customer success managers that work inside of a SaaS company. Okay. Well, if you're an account exec in an outsourcing or a third-party services company, which I have a lot of experience in working with and with those types of organizations, that's a huge lift. Versus a customer success manager in a software company. So, gosh, for an AE in a third-party outsourced model, BPO model, or services company, it's about the credibility and the confidence that you're going to be able to deliver. Because the problematic in that relationship is you're further away from the customer, right? You're dealing with multiple layers in that example, or in that structure. So being an AE for a BPO or an outsourcer or a third-party services company, I would rely heavily upon testimonials, case studies, and referential marketing materials, because that's going to tell our story. If I'm an account exec with a third party, I can tell you anything I want, but what I really need to do is demonstrate what we've done. Demonstrate how we drive value, demonstrate how we win, demonstrate that we're going to be with you through the relationship, and build the vision of things that we're already successfully doing. So the flip side to that, the other part of the question is a CSM and a SaaS org. Well, as a CSM, you are responsible for delivering value. So it's much more intimate. You're representing the organization. You have the resources and the relationships within your organization to drive the value, to deliver the value, and the customers are dependent upon you being able to advocate for them. So the advocacy, voice of the customer, those two are key as to a customer success professional being successful, whether you're in SaaS or not in SaaS, to that relationship. And so so that really comes back to what we've been talking about with sales, right? So if I know how I can help sales, I want to be able to use that same model and do it for support, and use that same model and do it for product. And so that's where it's going to be very important. So as a customer success manager, you can be a conduit. Your organization really should be aggregating the top 3, top 5 product requests, issues, challenges, and having that communication with your product team monthly. There's something else I want to say about that as a side, but I'll complete this thought. As a customer success manager, driving value to your customers is key. Driving value to your company is also half of your job. And when you do that, you will build the relationships internally that you can ask your project managers and your product owners to maybe sit on a Ask Me Anything on a monthly basis, or help you build content that can be shared with customers. Maybe it's a white paper, maybe it's a tutorial, maybe it's information that you share within in-app help. But you want to collaborate with them on building out resources for your customers. And so that's another part of it. And so, when we started off this call, we're talking about, those groups and those teams cross-functionally, they have meetings every month, but they're not getting anywhere. Well, activities are not achievements, right? Just because you're doing something doesn't mean there's actually anything good coming out of it. So you need to have accountability built into your cadences. You need to have visibility and the collaborative activities are going on. You need to have initiatives that are built into what you're rolling out with your cross-functional leaders. So this is how I build something cross-functionally. First, I think to myself, do I have the right culture? I'm the customer success leader. Does my leader in product or in sales, do I have a good relationship with them? Can we do something cross-functionally? So that's the first thing. So once you get to the point where you can build on something that's going to be of value, what's important to them, which is also important to us in customer success, which is going to drive value for our customers. What could that be? So we'll use, a sales documentation, right? Let's use that customer success one-pager as the example. So that's important, right? It helps sales do their job, builds their sales, increases the velocity of their sales, gives us a better customer and experience when we in customer success receive that customer. So that's the initiative, right? So that's what's important. Now let's define it. What is it going to be? Well, it's going to be a one-page document that's a PDF that can be shared on our website. It can be shared as an attachment. It outlines all of our services, what we do in customer success, and sales can talk to that and help us define it. Make sure that it speaks their language, that has their semantics, that it breathes into what we deliver as a company. And then we want to build that out. What's our time frame? Are we going to do this in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days? What's the scope? How frequently they're going to meet on this? We're going to meet on this every 30 days, every 15 days, bi-monthly. So what's the cadence to that? And then who are the stakeholders? Who's going to be responsible for delivering this? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be a customer success team lead? Is it going to be, and then who that will be that counterpart on sales that's responsible for getting this done in the time frame? Do we need marketing's help? Do we need learning and development so that it looks shiny and it has a good presentation to it so that it can be consumed? And then how are we going to measure this? How many of these have been sent out to net new customers? If we have 15 new customers that come in every week, did 15 customers receive this document? Do the customers have feedback? Do they find value in it? Is what the document says in its delivery meeting expectations of what we deliver after 30, 60, 90 days with the customer? So that would be one example.
The next question is it healthy for a company in today's market to have customer success as a supporting functionality for the sales department rather than being independent or owning more of the renewal?
Yeah, so I think that's asking, do we split renewals, and then how do we split renewals, right? So is sales responsible for the renewal, yes or no? Customer success responsible for the renewal? Does customer success support the renewal, the upsell and the cross-sell motions? A lot to unpack there. It depends what your product is. It depends how your product is rolled out. Here's the problem. The one thing that I can say without fail is the less you own as an individual in revenue, the less authority you will have, the less autonomy you will have, the less ability to change direction and get resources for yourself will be. And so, the more revenue you can own and deliver on, the more you will be able to provide for yourself and for your team, and for your employees. And so that's the long and the short of it. You manage the dollars, you get the voice. That's how it works. So, at any time that customer success is looking at a supporting function, the thing that happens is everything flows downhill. Like things that parts of the customer facing motion that other teams don't want to handle will get pushed to customer success. It will flow down to customer success. Customer success will become the everything department and will be the catch-all for things that other parts of the company don't want to or can't do. And so then then you become more of a cost of goods sold and a supporting function. And now supporting function just are bad words. Because you're there to serve another function instead of being your own standalone function, delivering on your own initiatives and your revenue and performance metrics.
I published another question. With many companies working in a remote capacity and accounting executives and CSM dispersed across the country and different time zones, do you have suggestions or recommendations on how to bring them closer in a virtually way, especially when budgets are tight to bring people together physically? I think this question is so spot on also in the context of COVID, in the context of the pandemic, and moving from being physically in the office where it was much more easier to create the synergies between the teams into, okay, everyone is working remotely on different time zones, different locations.
I love this question. Not one we had planned, but I'm happy it came up. So, actually, nothing here is really planned, so this is good. So here's what I've done and has been very successful and fun and enjoyable. So I've had global teams where they sat across the world, time zones, languages, etc. One commonality was that everybody spoke English, so there's a starting base. So what I did, and I didn't do it because I don't like this to come from me, but I had other members of my team create a matrix. And so what we did, we took all of the customer success team, CS Ops. So we had in CS Ops, we had data analysts, we had a trainer, we had a project manager, we had 6 different, it doesn't matter what their titles were. We had 6 different individuals in there. In the customer success and individual contributors, we had team leads, we had customer success managers, we had technical account managers, and we had professional services deliveries. The CSMs were also split into customer success specialists, associates, senior, and principals, so had all this great mix. So what we did, we took individuals from all these different groups and put them into groups of 3 or 4 or 5 and had them meet monthly to deliver, to share, and then deliver on a topic. And then we mix them all up again. So hopefully 2 people never saw each other in the same group for at least a couple months. So mix them all up, have them meet, and give them a topic. Or give a piece of literature to read about the customer success industry. Share their thoughts, and then provide a synopsis, either in a collaborative document in Confluence or an email thread, or present at our next all hands. And we had all hands meetings, sometimes weekly, generally bi-weekly, depending upon how the company and the economy was going. And so everybody has a chance to meet somebody else on the team at a more intimate level, even if they don't work together day at a time or every day. They learned something new that was relative to their job and role as a customer success professional, and it was kind of fun. And so, don't make it something like we're going to have a pasta cooking class, or make it something that's going to be about the day-to-day work. Sharing a customer's win, sharing a challenge that you had in the most recent call with a customer, making each individual responsible for sharing something and doing it in a collaborative environment where they get to meet or at least interact with individuals that they wouldn't regularly meet with. You can do, if your company's smaller, you can do this with across sales and across support and marketing and all the other functions in your company as well. But that would be that's one way, and I found a really great way to get everybody together. And it doesn't cost you anything.
Indeed. What is the best process to incentivize sales to care about their customers post-sales? You mentioned compensation. Any other layers?
Yeah, I mean, so if you take money completely out of it, the other ways of doing this is a lot of us work in Slack or work in a tool that is collaborative. And so weekly, I would aggregate some of the customers that have been doing well or challenges that we overcame and list all the individuals that were part of that journey with the customer. Sales individuals, support individuals, product, anyone who had something to do with it. Putting people's names in lights is not monetary. It doesn't cost you anything, but is such a good, rewarding team building experience that can be shared across the organization. So that's what anybody can do. Even if it's just an email and you're adding people to the conversation. So I would do that. The incentives that really work, we all know this, are the ones that are measurable, that have rewards behind them, that are tied to objectives and the emotions that your company wants to complete. And so you need executive sponsorship to have part of the performance metrics or even MBOs, so that it's not directly tied to compensation, but at least performance objectives based around things that matter to all of us. NPS, CSAT, that kind of stuff works. They're more nebulous. Revenue numbers work. Time to value, first time to value for customers, something that's very measurable and very concrete. And so those are some of the ways I'd go about it.
We remain in line with the compensations. How can compensation be used to help sales prospect the right customer profile? So we are also bringing the ICP part and the element which connects marketing with sales, with customer support, and also product.
Yeah. When it comes to your ICP, so your ideal customer profile. Ideal customers stay with you for certain amounts of time, depending upon what your product is, how your company goes to market. And so lifetime value of your customer is going to increase as you bring in the right customers and and position your offerings in the right ways and then deliver on them. And so I know a lot of organizations, they compensate their sales team on how long customers stay. So how their compensation structure is built out, they have X percentage for customers that still that are with them after 90 days or 6 months or 12 months on the percent that renew. So whether you're doing renewals monthly or annually, then you can tie compensation to renewals. You can tie compensation. So if your pricing model is periodic, so it's based on a subscription like that, then there's your models for that. If you're going on a compensation or a usage model, you can also tie compensation for sales to usage and to compensation models. So you're continuing to hold the sales accountable and responsible for customers as they continue on their life cycle with you.
What advice would you give to companies looking to build an effective upsell process? Is it better to have CS own those exclusively and leave sales to deal with new business?
It depends on your product. And I say that because you don't want to leave customer success in a place where they don't have the resources to effectively manage upsell and cross-sell. If you have a product that's a heavy technical lift and rather complex, and customer success will need technical resources, whether they're technical account managers or they're sales engineers, or technical architects, product architects. The right resources need to be there. First, for the company to be successful, and secondarily, to give customer success individuals a good experience. You don't want to ask them to do the job and then not give them the right tools to do it. And so, if CS is going to own the upsell and the cross-sell, they need to have the resources to do that, and they also need to be compensated appropriately to do that. So that's the first principle to CS owning upsell and cross-sell. The thing, and you also want to provide customer success with the right training and the right support and the right ongoing training. So with my customer success teams, I have ongoing training around negotiations and skills and tactics. I have ongoing training around difficult conversations, how to have them. Difficult conversations we were having 12 months ago were around maybe COVID and supply chain and those kind of concerns. The difficult conversations we're having today, in October 26th of 2022, are around economics, global affairs, the social conditions that are going on around the world. And so just because you trained about that topic 12 months ago doesn't mean that you need, it's put to rest. You need to continually revisit these, because the difficult conversations I had 12 months ago have changed. So what kind of training and support do you have for customer success? And so, if it happens to be upsell or cross-sell or onboarding or implementation or renewals or training, whatever you're asking and the company's asking the team to do, make sure you have the right support so that they can do it effectively and as comfortably as possible.
I have 3 more questions for you, and we have 7 more minutes. And I'm glad that you received so many questions, and the avalanche of questions that you received makes me think that we picked a very good topic to debate today. So you mentioned sales, support, and customer success have articles and should work together. It was an example that you provided earlier in the call. What's the best way to keep everyone in sync, since each team uses different tools and usually have a tendency to silo?
All right. So this goes to another principle, working together, whether you're in a team that's dedicated to customer success or you span multiple teams. If you don't have a system, and if you're not sharing a tool, then you don't have a team. You don't have a process. That's where I start. So whether it is something as simple as Google Sheets or shared project management files in Confluence or a project whiteboard in Miro, if you don't have a common system, you don't have a pathway to success. You don't have a way to collaborate. You don't have a way to document. You don't have a way to contribute, and you don't have a way to provide potential ownership. And so if my customer success team is only living in their customer success platform and my sales team is only living in their CRM, then the only hope I have is that the transformation and load from the CRM happens effectively into my CSP. Are we speaking the same definitions and semantics? Do we care about the same characteristics and inputs about our customer? If I don't have a system, I don't have a process. I don't have a way. So that's the first part. And then, are we meeting about these things? One of the things I'm a big advocate about is Deal Desk, or something similar to Deal Desk, where all the customer-facing teams are reviewing the sales and the engagements that are going on with customers, and looking at, well, this is what we defined as our ICP, our ideal customer profile. These are the customers that we're looking at potentially bringing in-house. Do they line up to our ideal customer profile? Here are the customers that we have brought in-house. Here's why they've been successful. Here's why another subset have not been successful, and measuring that back against our ideal customer profile and seeing where there's alignment or there's not alignment, and then learning from that. So there needs to be communication and ownership across the organizations on shared initiatives, shared goals, shared platforms and tools, and shared documentation, and hopefully shared compensation and metrics.
Companies do NPS, CSAT, and so on for understanding customer and to get their voice. What different CSM is expected or should do to bring value?
Okay. So your company's already doing NPS and CSAT and those kind of things. That's great. Most of us have call recording capabilities, and so I would highly recommend that customer success own sentiment data. So sentiment data and things of in that realm are call recordings, are emails, are posts, are social media feedback. So your sentiment data is the data that you're getting back from your customers outside of those formal, very static metrics-based responses and feedback loops. Customer success can build objects, if you're using Salesforce or you're using another CRM or CSP, can build in the methods to categorize and then aggregate feedback from customers. You can use your call recording software to take 15, 30, 45-second snippets of calls and feedback from your customers and share that directly with product, sales, marketing, etc., to demonstrate what's working and what's not working. We're so close to the customer, we work with them every day. Let their voice be heard across your company. Advocate that you have customer success stories shared either in your collaboration tools like Slack or email, or in your company quarterly updates, or blast emails, whatever have you. Let your customer exist and live and breathe within your company and have a voice for them. Tell your customers, I'm going to ask you a question because I want to hear feedback so that I can share that with my colleagues in the company. What would you like them to know? What can I provide to them that would be helpful? And owning that. And then when you gain that information back, tell them what you're going to do with it. I'm going to take this over to my monthly meeting with product and share this with them, or I'm going to send this in an email over to my colleague in support so they see how much value you've brought to them.
What's the best question you've asked the company to understand if they care about their customers?
The best one, the single best one, is, does your CEO meet with customers?
Can you develop a bit on this? It's a bold question, I would say. And you received a lot of thumbs up, so most probably others consider it as well.
Does your CEO talk to customers? How is it a formal, periodic, shared experience? Meaning, does your CEO meet with customers quarterly? Do they go on sales calls? Do they listen to feedback? Do they listen to calls? Do you have a customer advisory board? Do you have a voice of customer program? Does your CEO go on road shows? Do they go to trade shows? Do they go to conferences? Do they talk to customers? Yes, they do. What does that look like? What does that mean in your company? How often is it? What is the methods of communication? Email, phone, in person, face to face, panels. Do they do? Is your CEO visible to the customers?
One more question, because I know that you had a lot of questions. The last one before we wrap it up. How can customer success tools improve the collaboration and process?
How can the customer success tools improve this collaboration and process? Formalizing it inside of their offering, and adding aggregation to it, and metrics behind it. Things that we've done and we've built in house is we'll take product features and make them part of our platform, and then the features can then be tagged within our CRM or our CSP for feedback, and then those are aggregated monthly or weekly. and shared. And so if you can't measure it, everybody says you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Okay, I think we should give Jeff a few more seconds. Maybe he comes back. Jeff? Well, what can we say? Internet connection from time to time can create surprises. But I think he's back, almost back. While he's back, I want to thank you all for being an awesome audience today, for asking so many questions. And I hope through this topic, we managed to, provide you some very good insights that you can take into your teams. Jeff, are you back? Thank you all for participating. And thank you all for the kind words. I'm glad that it was something useful and valuable for you all. I want to give the chance to Jeff to say goodbye and wrap things up. So let's give him one more minute to thank you all. Thanks, Rami. Thanks, Anish. Thanks, Manish, Mohammed, Nancy, Helen, Victor, Marisa. Okay, I think that's a wrap. And thank you all for participating. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the last edition that we are organizing in December. Details will follow soon. So follow us on LinkedIn. Keep an eye on Castify.com upcoming webinar. We prepared a lot of surprises for you. Okay, have an awesome day, and that's a wrap. Yes, definitely. I'm going to send the invitation for the next webinars. Have an awesome day. It was a pleasure talking to you. And unfortunately, Jeff cannot say goodbye, but I'm saying it for his name. Yes, recording as well. Have an awesome day. Bye bye, everyone.